Hello, Dale McDermott here with the CGLCC and welcome to the 2020 Digital LGBT Plus Global Business Summit. Before we get started on the session, CGLCC would like to recognise our presenting sponsor, TD Bank Group, along with all of our gold and silver sponsors and all of our sponsors for helping us to make this event happen. We would also like to recognise our translation partner, AI Media, for enabling us to deliver live caption translation in 3 languages, English, French and Spanish, and you can access those using the links below in the description box. I'd also like to draw your attention to the left-hand side of your screen to the networking and exhibit hall tabs, where over the course of the next 5 days you can connect with LGBT plus businesses, corporations and each other to help drive that power of connection. And finally, if you do like the content we are producing, please feel free to make a financial contribution using the donate link in the description box below. Thank you and enjoy your session.
Hey everyone, I'm Shaun Proulx. Welcome to the Power of Connection and congratulations to the CGLCC for creating this digital summit in such especially challenging times. I can't see any of you, but I can feel that you all look gorgeous today. In 1999, I was standing in a hotel room in the Barrington Hotel in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I had the TV on and I was transfixed. I'd begun to undress, but my hand was stopped at the knot of this ridiculously expensive Armani tie I had on. It was just gone 4 in the afternoon and I found myself with a gap in my schedule, so I had the Oprah Winfrey show on, a rare time that I got to watch it. I was working in finance at the time. I was 30 and making a mid-6-figure salary, which always struck me as ridiculous because I had failed grade 10 math and I'm a high school dropout. Those days I was contemplating leaving the industry after about 8 years at it. My heart was speaking to me and I was listening to what I call the conversation going on between me and me. If I could be successful working hard for someone else, doing what didn't come naturally to me, what would I be able to achieve if I did what I loved doing, what I was naturally good at? All my life I'd been the kid at school who was great at public speaking, honorable judges, teachers, and fellow students, who excelled in languages. I wrote a steamy soap opera of a novel as a grade 12 project. I won all the high school drama awards. What if I could find a way to make a living harnessing those passions, my passions for words? I had asked universe for signs and I was getting them. They lit up my life. It dawned on me, what was I doing in finance when I didn't subscribe to the Financial Post, but I did subscribe to Entertainment Weekly? Or one day I was in a home decor store and I saw this small metal bar and the words, as you can see on it, what would you attempt to do if you could not fail? I bought that and I've obviously taken it home. I was at a client's wedding once in New Brunswick signing the guest book when a woman came up to me and she was kind of looking over my shoulder and she's like, "Look at your handwriting. You're so creative." And then she was literally taken aback. "Why aren't you doing anything creative with your life?" Like she was in shock. I had no idea who she was. In the lonely place, the one we all know when we're wrestling with a life-changing choice or just wrestling with life, I asked for help and it was supplied in abundance. Supportive signs came from everywhere, and on that day in Halifax, as the rain hit the windows of my hotel room at the Barrington, the universe took it to a new level and presented me with Oprah. She had a Jan Levan Zant on, and the two were strutting around the studio like spiritual peacocks. Oprah looked into the camera, and I looked right back at her, our eyes locked. She then said the words that changed my life because I'd asked to hear them, and I needed to hear them. She said, "When you take 1 step towards the universe takes 9 towards you," she said. My fingers finally pulled over the necktie, opened the necktie. I quickly stripped down, I changed my clothes, and I went down like I was on autopilot to the hotel gift shop. And I bought giant notepads and markers and pencil crayons from the kids section, and I took them back upstairs. On the bed, I took to writing audaciously all the true desires of my heart. I let me out, unedited. Who was I, uneducated, high school dropout with no experience, to write journalist, broadcaster, columnist, actor, speaker, teacher, coach, talk show host, all the things that I dared to dream for myself? Well, who was I not to? Then in the bottom right-hand corner of that notebook, I drew a doodle of myself, a stick figure with a Cheshire cat eating grin. That little sketch of me that I dared to draw, being in the fullness of who I really was, had me holding a microphone. And on the microphone, I had the raw gall to write The Shaun Proulx Show. For all of those of you who are unfamiliar with my work, I'm no longer in finance. I'm a broadcaster and a journalist and a talk show host. I wrote a column for 7 years called Spirit in the City, and I've written for all the major Canadian newspapers. I create empowerment content on my own site, ShaunProulx.com, and a site I launched almost 20 years ago called thegayguidenetwork.com. I've helped the likes of TD Bank put forward their empowering message of being financially fit. I've appeared in commercials for the likes of Mercedes-Benz Canada. I've been a product spokesperson for brands like Tres Stella and Iceberg Vodka, and worked as an influencer for the likes of Visit Britain and Cryotherapy. In essence, I'm blessed to make a living just being myself. And I get to speak to millions of listeners across North America on the Shaun Proulx Show, heard weekends on SiriusXM Canada Talks. What I'm talking to you about as I share this story from my life, what is so important to me that you walk away with today knowing, is the immeasurable power imbued in the connection between you and you. And I'm talking about the power that creates worlds. When you hear the word connection, you likely think about the connection you make with others, friends, family, romantic, and especially in business with colleagues, clients, mentors, prospects. All of those are invaluable connections we're required to make and that we know to make. But I'm here today to ask you to consider the idea that the most powerful connection that you can make, the one that makes all those other connections more powerful in turn, is the one between you and you. The one that stands to make you millions of times more powerful than the one who's next to you, completely disconnected from who they are. What's in your heart? What are your fondest desires? What would you do? What would you do if you knew you could not fail? What first step towards the universe might you take today? These are not questions whose answers come from our connection to others. In fact, those are the kinds of questions that can turn the others into those kind of niggling peanut gallery types. But these are the questions that can be and have to be answered by anyone seeking great success, whether you're on your journey in your career or in your life. And they can only be asked and answered when you have the connection between you and you. And you want to ask questions like that because they lead to more questions like that, because it's in these questions that the magic lies, the magic that guides and contours and changes you and your life. It is in the quietest moments when it's just you and your truth that you think to ask for signs and get signs, and to ask for answers and get answers. And we live in a society that does not promote this idea of connecting with yourself. We have been, up until COVID-19, a society addicted to being busy. We glorify it. Busyness is a status symbol, a packed schedule, overscheduled calendars, overscheduled children. It's all supposed to be so impressive. But what it really is an excuse to stay disconnected with who you really are. Why do you think so many people have struggled during this long period of isolation that we've all been put in? They are so disconnected with themselves that having to stay inside, sometimes along with zero company by their own, it's been painful for them. It's like being cooped up with a stranger, which is a shame because your relationship with yourself is arguably the most important and intimate relationship you're going to have in your life. And it's easy, without realizing it, to neglect the one person in your life who is your partner with everything that you are and all that you do, you. After all, of all the billions of people on the planet, you are the only person about whom you have firsthand experience and any chance of direct access into your world. We can be so close to people that we know that we can practically know what they're thinking when they think it. But we are unique to ourselves among all other human beings in this aspect. Have you ever been married? I have. It's a very long story. But when we marry, we usually vow to provide for the other person in all the other important ways. It's a formal legal binding contract. But do we ever take such a vow with ourselves to promise to take care of ourselves to the best of our ability, no matter what, to love and to honor? The relationship between you and you is the foundation of all relationships. It's the birthplace of every dream you have for yourself. It's the launching of all the great questions you're going to ask about your life, and the never let you down, never wrong, reliable, trustworthy, strong, hand at your back go-to for the answers to those questions you dare ask because you are one with you. When you have a relationship with you, you access an inner guidance system that never goes squirrely on you. You align with you and you find the right words to say. You make the rendezvous with the idea or with the person you needed to meet right when you needed to meet them. You become more confident, more comfortable in your own skin. You develop daring do. You become a magnet and you attract. You become someone who knows to speak what they seek until you see what you said. The point of life is to create who and what you are and then to experience it. And we just can't do that when we're disconnected from ourselves. You've heard quotes like these all your life. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. What you think you can become. Well, science has finally caught up and can quantify and track how beliefs shape outcomes. Change your thinking, change your life. Have a thought revolution. But you can't change your thinking. You can't think of what you want to become. You can't conceive and believe so to achieve when you don't know you if you're a stranger to yourself. Ever go up to a stranger and ask them how their dreams are going, what their dreams are, how they're going to make them come true? No, because they're a stranger. If you're a stranger to you, you're denying yourself the fullness of who you really are and all you can achieve. If the secret to long-term happiness is to be happy today, and it is, how do you even begin to make that happen in your life without connection to yourself? So how do we do this? How do we align with ourselves? Well, for starters, you want to put down the phone more often than you do. And if that bothers you, that's a problem right there. Stop hiding from yourself. Stop busy making. You cannot be too busy to be with yourself. Stop putting other people first. Stop hiding yourself with your busy. Stop watching the news. Stop watching every playoff game. Stop watching every Real Housewife episode. And maybe COVID-19 has given you opportunity to be alone more than you ever have. And if it hasn't, isolate more. Spend more time, just you. No phone. If you want to be able to get up fully and be engaged in the red hot moment wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you've got to do these things. Otherwise, the saying that you're not present is true. You just aren't there. Things may get ugly. Being alone with yourself, you may be forced to realize things, perhaps how much time you actually spend terrorizing yourself with your own thoughts. You may discover that you've been running an ugly sounding tape inside your head all day, every day for much of your life. And that tape, if that's the case, needs to be edited. The tape should sound like what it would sound like if your best friend was talking to you. You may discover that there's a lot of work to be done in the relationship between you and you. And other ways that you could do this is to meditate, have a hot bath, do solo physical activities like hiking or biking, journal, go to dinner alone. Be kind to yourself. Do anything and everything that puts you in a quiet space with you. And surround yourself with those who have a deep connection with themselves as well, and guard that orbit. Practice radical self-care. Practicing self-love not only invokes making sure your needs are met, it also means not subjecting yourself to environments, perspectives, relationships, and other commitments that disempower you. And that is not selfish, it is self-full. What are your values? What are your passions? What are you paying attention to? What are you curious about? What concerns you? What is the next right step for you? What have been the most meaningful events of your life? What is your heart saying to you? Who are you? What would you do if you knew you could not fail? Ask yourself bold things. Get to know who you really are. Go deeper than you ever have and watch what happens. I promise you, in the end, it will knock your socks off. You will knock your socks off. Knowing myself has allowed me to ask questions whose answers took me away from a life that was really good to a life that is great. I'm one of the happiest guys that I know. It has also allowed me in 2015 to make a professional dream come true and say thank you to someone whose words I accessed that helped me create a better life and better version of myself. I'm grateful for all the wisdom and encouragement I was able to access back when I began my journey into connection with myself when I left finance to become who I am now. But I'm especially grateful for the day Oprah Winfrey told me to take one step towards the universe. Like many people, I've always wanted to thank her for the huge impact she's made on my life, and I wanted to interview the queen of interviewers. And so I spoke what I sought till I saw what I said. I believed in the desire. I believed in me. I vision boarded that sucker. I stated it would happen. I journaled it. I imagined it. I did what you do when you're connected with you. I did this for 1 decade. And in that decade, conducting hundreds, if not thousands of interviews, I became the interviewer who could sit down with Oprah Winfrey and hold his own. And then the universe in 2014 began to show me signs. I became friends with someone who knew Oprah well enough that they would DM on Twitter. I was invited to an OWN tea party when they first launched the network in Canada. I went to a workshop in Chicago where the then president of OWN was also in attendance, just seats for me. And I had guests on my show from the O Circle like Panache Desai and Gail King. And then on a Friday afternoon, I'll never forget, I got an email confirming my ask. There was a videotape of me swirling around the room because I was so happy that I would be interviewing Oprah Winfrey this coming Monday. I was shaking that day. Not just because I was finally realizing a great professional goal, not just because it was her, but because I knew that it was a moment that only arrived because I have fostered and nurtured that which I'm telling you now that I wish for each of you to do to the maximum of your potential. I had harnessed connection between me and me, the connection that makes all things alive. Take away that connection, you take away the dream, the moxie to go for it. You take away the belief you can do it, you take away the desire. You take away even knowing that desire was there to begin with. Take away that connection and you're on your phone, you're busy, you're scattered, you're hither and yon, you're wondering, is that all there is? In my 20 minutes with Oprah, she shared wisdom pertinent to this idea of connection between you, and I'd like to share that with you next. She said, I spend a lot of time in stillness. I spend a lot of time in not a complete meditative state, but I spend a lot of time in the state of being fully present with whatever's going on in the moment. And so I'm committed to that because I know this is where your greater sense of creative energy and your greatest sense of ability to make great decisions for yourself and ask great questions comes from. Later in our talk, Oprah told me, all of the best decisions come from knowing that it is the right decision for you. You can never know if it is the right decision if you're asking everyone else, what should I do? The number one sign you're not in the space of alignment with what the universe wants for you, what the forces of life want for you, the number one sign is that you have to ask everybody else. So the only way you can ever know what is right for you is your interior, your instinct, your intuition, your voice of reason, that thing inside you that allows you to make the best decision for you when you can get still. It was a blessing to have that full circle moment with Oprah Winfrey, to have drawn the Shaun Proulx show on a notepad as a first step because Oprah told me to take one. And then to have her on the Shaun Proulx show all those years later and say thank you is one of the fondest moments of my life. And I wish for you lives of fond moments and blessings like that. And I feel blessed to be talking to you here and spending this time with you today. But I want to make sure that I don't leave you with this idea that knowing yourself is the answer to everything. You still get your share of crappy circumstances and crappy people around you, but having the greatest connection of them all makes all the difference between how you react to and how you handle those circumstances, how quickly or how slowly you line up with solutions, with rendezvous, with genius ideas, and with the knowing that whatever happens, you got this. It's a difference between swimming downstream and upstream all your life. Along the way, I've experienced highs and lows. Every entrepreneur does, and I wear more hats than I care to these days, all day, every day. It's also not easy running a business as a queer person. As a gay man, I've been at this for 20 years now, and the landscape now is a far cry from where it was when we first started. Along the way, I've been disrespected, I have been discounted, I've been laughed at, assumptions and presumptions have been made about me, who I am, and what I can do. So I want to just take this opportunity to say thank you to the CGLCC corporate partners who are watching this. A big thank you. I know you do what you do partially because it's mandated, partially because it's right, and partly because you want to. But you need to know that in the doing, there's so much more that you give us. I speak to you as a gay man who now sits comfortably in his own skin, but that was not always the case. I've had to figure all this out alone. I've had to become and make these realities so on my own. And in the stepping up, as you do as corporate partners supporting queer business, you tell the alone me, and you tell all the queer businesses who've gone through what I have and do, that it wasn't for naught. You validate that it was worth it, and we are worth it. You validate worthiness of queer people and queer businesses you support deeper than you know, so thank you. To everyone in attendance, I wish you joy as you deepen your connection with yourself. Thank you for coming and consult the schedule on your left for upcoming sessions. I was told to say all this. Please consider making a donation to the CGLCC. Info on how to make donations is in the description of each session. The better you know yourself, the better your relationship with the rest of the world. And you are the strongest and longest connection that you're ever going to have. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.